The dark step of writing hate into law. The new marriage laws put state power and the law behind majoritarian communal biases, boosting regressive mores. If we look at the past, Chaudhary Charan Singh, the former Prime Minister, made a proposal to the Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru in 1954. As a minister in the Uttar Pradesh government, he wanted Nehru to pass a law so that the jobs as gazetted officers could only be for those who wanted to or had married outside their caste. Nehru turned the proposal down because this stuck at the exercise of the free will of individual citizens in India. So, it is an indicator of the distance travelled since, that is, he has set a precedent. Charan Singh's state, Uttar Pradesh, has an ordinance which criminalizes the interfaith marriages. The Uttar Pradesh government's focus is firmly on protecting the Hindu women from marrying Muslim men. It does this under the pretext of regulating religious conversions. The law in Uttar Pradesh has already set a precedent for other states ruled by the Bharatiya Janata Party (BJP), such as Madhya Pradesh. In another BJP ruled state neighboring Uttar Pradesh, namely Uttarakhand, a routine press release from the Social Welfare Department highlighted a scheme incentivizing the interfaith and intercaste marriages. This threatened the communal world view being rapidly ushered in through a series of so-called freedom of religion laws in the BJP ruled states. The press release was seen as out of step by the state government that an inquiry was ordered by the chief minister. In 1872, the colonial state drew up a law after it received petitions from Keshav Chandra Sen of Brahmo Samaj demanding that people of different backgrounds be allowed to marry according to their rights of conscience. The Special Marriages Act in 1954 took this further in independent India by taking away the colonial law's requirement to renounce religion. However, it still allowed intrusion by the state, unlike under the personal laws, by demanding notices to be put up in advance. This was done to ensure there were no living spouses or minors being married, but this clause was misused by communal social groups to stop such unions. In the BJP ruled states, there are many other recent laws like slaughter of cattle, marriage, religious conversions of the republic, and so on. It also destroys the long-standing fraternity in everyday lives that has long defined India. The ordinance by the Uttar Pradesh Prohibition of Unlawful Conversion of Ordinance 2020 and Madhya Pradesh Freedom of Religion Bill 2020 are particularly vicious on at least 4 counts. That is, first thing is, it is fundamentally wrong. Under the constitution, it is the individual citizen who has exercises his rights and obligations. But these new laws treat the religious communities instead of the individual citizens as the basic entities by taking away the agency that the Indian constitution allows each individual to exercise. This fundamentally distorts and the framework of our republic. For those who argue that the constitution does address the communities when speaking of the minority rights and untouchability, it is to only acknowledge that and overcome the social discrimination because that impedes the ability of those citizens to exercise their rights as individuals. The constitution has given them the community rights. By seeing the world as a split between the Hindus and Muslims, a Carpian universe, a fundamental modern characteristic of the guarantee of autonomy to all the Indians as individuals, is broken. Violate privacy, choice rights, that is, the second thing is, it violates the privacy. These laws blatantly violate the right to privacy, which the Supreme Court of India, in the much lauded judgment in 2017, decreed to be fundamental. The level of the state interference in a civil union, which is solemnization of a relationship between the two individuals, breaches the basic structure of the Constitution. And the third is, the provisions impede the exercise of an individual's right to choose her faith without seeking the state sanction. Under these new laws, laws, everyone from the police, local administration, and communal groups and families are given ample time to interfere and deny the individual without any locus to do so. In the matters of change of profession, nationalities, electoral choices, and even political parties, no such interference is brought into play. The ruling by the Supreme Court in 1977, which upheld earlier restrictions to convert by the states of Madhya Pradesh and Odisha, said it did so to penalize conversion by force, fraudulent or allurement. The other element is that every person has the right to profess his own religion and to act according to it. Any interference with that right of other person by resorting to conversion by force or allurement cannot, in our opinion, be said to contravene Article 25 Clause 1 of the Constitution of India, as the article guarantees religious freedom subject to public health. So, by making the propagation contentious, the 1977 ruling pushed back freedoms in Article 25, so the mass conversion of B.R. Ambedkar to Buddhism could invite a jail sentence. Instead of rescinding the 1977 ruling, these laws further criminalize an individual's choice of birth. Fourth, the basics of the new law is deeply patriarchal. The nightmare that the India traversed in 1920s with competitive communalism and also the fanning charges of the Hindu Betis in North India being taken away like a cattle are being relieved now. The pernicious myth of love jihad, where adult women are seen as a property, it is not just a pamphlet or WhatsApp message. It is not the law. We saw a brief preview in 2017 of the dark consequences of the prohibition of unlawful conversion of religion Ordinance 2020, when the law confronted Haddia, a 25-year-old health professional from Kerala, for her marital choice a year after converting into Islam. This law targets Muslim men but is also living hell for Hindu women. So, and also the cost of inaction. It is with the good reason that the India is said to have effected a social transformation thanks to the values spelt out and written into the laws of the Republic. The Constitution offered high principles to aspire for, which Indians may never fully live up to, but that may have been the intention to see high standards and ensure we were always jumping just a little bit to get better. All the laws should meet that brief. However, these laws do not oppose it. They put state power and the law itself behind the majoritarian communal biases which empower regressive social mores governing marriage and fellowship. Interreligious marriages may be less than 2.5% of all the marriages, but the promise they hold goes beyond the numbers. They reaffirm the fundamental constitutional premises of all citizens being equal, besides promoting the ideals of freedom and fraternity. To fan rumors of love jihad, even as the government confirmed in the parliament that there was no evidence of it, it is diabolical. But more than that, it is downright dangerous, as it sees mistrust and changes fundamentals and basic ground rules that all the plural democracies must live by. It is for the court to sumo to strike these laws down if it want to preserve the basic structure of the constitutional affidavits. In September 1935, when Hitler enacted the Nuremberg race laws, it was fear of the missing of the German Jewish children of mixed descent that haunted the Nazi mind, obsessed with purity. At 50% Jew and 50% Aryan, they were a threat to the Nazi ideas. Closely linked to preventing such martial and sexual unions was the Nazi belief in doggy eugenics. The tragedy was that these laws were not protested enough when they were enacted. They ended up guiding Nazis' racial policy for the remaining decade of the Reich. So, we must never forget the price a society and a country pays for writing hate into the law.